Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's time to start talking about Christmas and the holidays, the month
Where
of
did
December.
2023 go? I have no
I
idea.
don't know. Really, we just started, right?
I
I can
know.
remember things that just happened in the beginning of the year, and now we're looking at the end of the year.
Okay, but partly we're on GraceLaced team, and we do start talking Christmas products like around
Yeah.
Mother's Day or before.
That's true.
And then we did set up our fresh floral Christmas tree in October. So
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
it's felt like it's been
We're pushing it.
accelerated just a little bit. So, but here we are. Here we are.
Here we
friends.
are actually ready
Here we
for
are
it.
actually here at the Christmas season.
Oh my goodness. Well, you already mentioned that we're going to be digging into this season, like what it looks like to make room for Christ in the holiday season and in our hearts. And not really just holidays, but for always. And it's like you've almost written a book or something with that title. In case you're new around here and you don't know, Ruth has written an Advent devotional that released last year called Emmanuel, an invitation to prepare him room at Christmas and always. But before the devotional came, there was a whole set of cards called Prepare Him Room. And both of them are in GraceLaced shop actually right now. But Ruth, tell us a little bit about what's the connection? How did this all start? How do we get here?
I love telling the story because I think I never planned on doing an Advent devotional. And I'm so glad that so many of our listeners, so many of our customers and our friends choose to use Emmanuel as their devotional for Advent. But several years ago, I was noticing that our family, probably because we're in retail, because I speak a lot and travel a lot during the holiday season right before Christmas, we would just get to December and feel a little like, oh my goodness, why are we in such a rush? Why do we feel like we're behind? And I know
Yeah.
we all relate to that. I know I'm not the only one. It's not like we have to have the same um, context or lives or even like job situations. It's just the
Right.
way it is. We're all like somehow tumbling towards December 25th as if there's a finish line and we all have to get there. And I just felt super cluttered in my heart and my soul all the time. And it didn't really matter if I got, you know, 15 different books in the mail because there are really great books and really beautiful
There are. Yeah.
activities and there's lots and lots of great ways to set up fun little an Advent
Traditions
gift to
and
open a day. And
yeah.
lots of our friends here probably do fun things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you are somebody who wants to wrap a gift for your family to open for 25 days, I'm literally like, you are my hero. It's so
Yeah. Can you do
awesome.
it for me too?
Right. I mean, because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Couldn't get I just couldn't get any of that together. And sometimes it felt like I longed so much for us to prepare our hearts and our minds
Yeah.
for the celebration of Christ's birth and what it really means. Because when we're celebrating the birth of Christ, we're really celebrating all of the redemption story, all the way
Great.
through, his fulfilling every promise. And so I remember years ago, I just said, what if we did not a full blown, we're not trying to self publish a book, but what if we created a set of cards where it was just 25 days to the heart of Advent and there would be an opportunity to really look at like what's going on with our posture? Like, are we like super anxious and stressed, or are we feeling really hopeful and
Yeah.
anticipating good? And are we worshiping or are we worried all the time?
Right.
What is the true gospel? To what is our response in it? And then what are the names of Jesus that we can really celebrate? And so these were the very topics that I knew would help me prepare my heart because, let every heart prepare him room is a lyric from Joy to the World. And it ought to
Yeah.
be the celebration of joy of the coming of Christ and the fulfillment of all of God's promises to redeem us. And yet, I could see that in some weird way, there was no room at the inn, air quotes, because I was constantly just moving stacks and stacks of worries, anxieties, frustrations, and
Yeah.
focused so much on the things that I had cluttered my heart with and not making room for Christ. And so that's how the card started. And of course, as people were engaging with the cards, and I still hope you grab cards because I think it's a
Yeah.
great way to start the morning around your kitchen table. But for those who
And
want to
they
go,
also have
they have
artwork, just so
art. And
everybody
so
knows. It's not just words. They're beautiful. You can hang them. It makes a gorgeous little display for Advent. It's
I know whether
perfect.
you put them on a little stand or you string them up like a garland, we do both. But last year I went way deeper and said, okay, I want to flesh these scriptures out. I want to flesh these ideas out and make sure we really can sit down with a book that will give breath to each of these topics. So that's the backstory for how Prepare Him Room Advent Journey cards from GraceLaced Shop is connected to Emmanuel, the book I released last year, the Christmas devotional.
So for those of you who are wondering, because we get this question a lot, like, should I do both? Is it the same content? Like, will both of them be useful? 100% they'll both be useful. The cards are really great. They have a question to kind of think about or discuss. So my family, we use them at dinner time. It's a great way to kind of like talk. You could use them at the breakfast table. They're great for your family or you and your roommates, your small group even. And then the devotionals, obviously a lot better maybe for just your personal own reflections and kind of reading through. But we do have a discussion guide for that as well. So if you wanted to read that in a group or read it together as a family, you could do that too. But I vote both, always.
Me too. And just as a side note, the book is traditionally published with my publisher, Harvest House, with that one. And so you can purchase it anywhere you buy books. You could probably even walk into your independent local bookstore and find it, whereas the Prepare Him Room cards are exclusively at GraceLaced.com.
Yeah. So
and that was an ad. I don't mean for that to be an ad, but listeners, just passionate about the work that I've created over the years, but I should have had a jingle and be like, this episode. No, just kidding.
A little bell. So anyway, as we that's the history, kind of where we're coming from. But when we thought about this season of the podcast, we thought, how can we really help each other, like Ruth and Eve, but also listeners, pause in the middle of a really historically busy month for everybody this season. There's parties, there's class things you have to do for your kids, there's concerts, there's just a lot going on. So how can we help each other just take 15 or 20 minutes and pause? How can we really encourage each other to make room for Christ? And then really just share where we are and what we're thinking about as we head into Advent. It's not all pretty bows, And
just as a side note, if you're new to the podcast or if you've been with us forever, I just want to say it really is Eve and Ruth trying to encourage each other as friends.
Yes.
Sometimes we just wish that we would press record when we're just having a normal conversation. And we probably should start doing that because we really do talk like sisters in Christ who need to build each other up and share how we're applying the gospel in our everyday lives. We really do that in our conversations with one another. And so the podcast is meant for you to come join in to a conversation that we're having as friends, and we want you to be in the circle of conversation as well. So we really do hope that this is an encouragement to you because we're trying to encourage one another.
So join us for the first episode on November 29th. We'll spend 5 weeks together, including a GraceLaced team episode for the week between Christmas and New Year's. And each one will be talking about what it looks like to make room for Christ. We can't wait to walk alongside you this Advent.